Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. Now, I've got an all-around incredible woman on the show with me today, and you are about to hear a truly inspiring story. Misty's been a part of the Addo community for quite some time, and we've had the opportunity to meet in person several times. We even hosted an event, one of our spa CEO intensives, in her hometown. So let me just do a quick read of her bio, and then we'll jump into her journey of building my favorite place, a 2-location day spa in Crestview, Florida. Misty's a native of Nashville, Tennessee, and she's had the privilege of living all over the world as a military spouse. She has an awesome husband of almost 24 years, and they have 2 sons and a daughter-in-law. Their oldest son, Chase, is in the Navy and is stationed in Virginia with his lovely wife, Kayla. Her youngest son is a freshman in high school and dreams of joining the Air Force after graduation. Her husband, Brandon, retired from the Army in 2015, and they decided to make Crestview, Florida, their home. Misty attended the International Institute of Massage and Aesthetics in Bluffton, South Carolina. She graduated in 2006, same year as me, and went back to aesthetics school in 2014 at LBW Community College in Opp, Alabama. In 2018, she opened her first day spa called My Favorite Place. And by December 2023, they opened their second location in Crestview. So it's a wonderful, wonderful story. Lots of inspiration. I hope you enjoy. All right, Misty, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so honored to have you share your story. It is such an inspiring one.
Thank you so much, Daniela. I am truly honored to be here as well. I've, been with you for a while, and I've listened to this podcast for years, and to actually be a part of it is really an awesome experience. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So what I want to, I know you really well. We've met in person several times. We've it's been probably 8 years since we've been in the same 8 or 9 years that we've been kind of in this world together. And so I know a lot of your story, but sharing with others the obstacles that you overcame and really knowing where you're at today with 2 locations. You did your build out, all of those things. Now you've expanded into a second location. But it wasn't just this smooth sailing road to get there. You're a military spouse. You had 12 moves. You had babies in different countries. You had health issues that came up. You were in a coma at one point. So you had a lot of obstacles to overcome to get you to where you're at. And I know that going through that caused you to carry a little bit of anxiety, caused you to have some mindset issues. What was the transition? Tell me about the journey. Was it after your husband retired that you decided hey, we're at least stable enough that I can do this thing that I wanted to do, get into aesthetics? It was after he retired, right?
Right. So no, I had my aesthetics license while he was still active duty in 2006 when we lived in Savannah. And but soon after I got my license, we moved to Korea and South Korea. I really wasn't able to work there. But that's also when I had Cameron 27 weeks premature due to eclampsia. So I kind of worked off and on in the aesthetics realm. Once we actually moved to Alabama in 2013, I went back to school to get my license back because it had expired during all that time.
Okay.
And so I had to go back to school, which was perfectly fine. It was a great refresher. I got back into the aesthetics world. And then when he retired, we moved to Crestview, Florida. And that's once we decided we weren't leaving. I told him, I was like, I just really want to kind of do my own thing, see where that takes me. I've always kind of felt a little bit entrepreneurial. I've done different home businesses, the Mary Kay and Pampered Chef and all that fun stuff to keep a military spouse busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
when you're moving all around. And then so so we were here, and he said, well, we're not planning to leave anytime soon, so let's just go for it. So,
and you guys did a build out for your first location.
Right. So we secured a location. We did a complete build out at that spa in 2000 and gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
15, I think.
16. I can't think. What?
Sometime around then.
Yeah. Right. 18.
18. Was it 18?
It's 6 years. We're about to have our 6-year anniversary. Okay. So yes,
okay.
2018 is when we opened our first spa. We did a full build out, and then I never was a solo. Like, I had worked in other spas all over the country, but that we did I was never a solo, like just opened.
Tell me about your vision, because you have a unique culture. I know you were really focused on part of the vision of this business was to provide a place, and you're really focused on your employees and your team. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. I felt like, working in other places, I've been an employee. I've been hired as a contractor, as we know, but I really felt like there was a missing element in this industry for professionals, spa professionals, that really encompasses the culture that I wanted to create, like taking care of them. Because when you're first starting out, like, as you know, like most of my employees come straight from school, which I love, because when they first start out, they have no clue what's happening, what's going on, how to, and here in Florida, our hours are so low, they don't really learn a lot. And to be able to teach them, further at the spas, it's very rewarding. I never really knew or understood until it's happened that the most rewarding part of owning the business is seeing the employees flourish and grow, and to know that they can, make great money. And whereas when you're a contractor or booth renting or things like that, it's not the same, right? It's just not the same environment. So, I mean, the employees that I have, I feel like I've had for several years, and they're happy. It's like a family. They call me spa mom.
I know I've seen that post. They have, like, your team will get you things on Boss's Day, and they celebrate your birthday, and they write you. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can tell that you're doing a lot to really nurture that culture, which is honestly one of the hardest things to do in a business for a lot of people that get in as solos and then start to hire their team. There's a learning curve. There's to go from leadership, or to go from being the provider into a role of leadership and communicating your needs and expectations. And it seems like you just started from that place of leadership, knowing that you wanted to create this team and create this experience for people in your community.
Right. And that's what I feel like has been the most, because, you said that they do these things for me, but I also do those things for them. Everybody gets a birthday party. Everybody gets an anniversary party. Everybody, gets the feeling of being connected in an environment that you spend almost as much time as you spend at your house. Right. I mean, and that's what I tell them, like, it's called my favorite place, my spa, right? It's my favorite place, but it's only also for the employees, not for the customers. It's for both. And I feel like when you can create that environment where people love to work and love to be and feel included and connected and appreciated and valued, that definitely goes forward into our client experience. It's just, and like I said, I have a culture, like, I'm very, also, I have like a, we don't talk about people. We don't talk about other businesses. It's like, it's a positive environment. Like, if you're at the spa, then unless you obviously have something very wrong, like we're all humans. Like, we have family issues, we have kid issues, we have spouse issues, but for the most part, like, we try to keep our environment positive and, loving and caring. And, and that also goes through to our clients that love spending time with us.
So talk to me about the journey for you of kind of getting grounded, but then realizing that you had a little bit of anxiety or stress or mindset issues that you needed to work through to be able to grow this company. What was that journey like, and how did you address those things to be able to lead your company to where it's at today?
I think prior to having the health issues that I had with pregnancy and, having all of the anxiety, like, I always thought like, I wanted to always say, this is not me. This is not who I am. I just want to be like I was before. And I don't, I mean, I took medications, I did therapy, I did counseling, I worked through a lot because even though I was struggling mentally or emotionally or with mental mindset, it's like I knew that that's not who I was, right? And so fortunately, I feel like over time, because my Cameron's almost 16, so it's been a lot of years since that happened to me, but it definitely took me a good amount of time to just and it just honestly positive reinforcement from my husband, from my family, my friends that continually would tell me like you're doing great things, even though maybe on the inside I didn't feel it or I just kept pushing through, right? I just kept pushing through. It's like the adapt and overcome, like the military. It's like the adapt and overcome. And it's one of those things. I had this quote that reminded me. It's like if you go to the gym and work out, like the weights don't get lighter, your muscles just get stronger and adapt to the weight, right? And so that's pretty much like your brain, I feel like. It's like the more you push yourself or the more you do, do things scared, right? Because your brain is going to adapt to that. It's like I mean, I don't think your brain's a muscle. It might be, but I'm not scientific
No, but
on
I
that.
mean, you can
But
still
absolutely.
train your brain. You can still,
Yes.
absolutely, mindset. It's like focusing on those things and understanding when you go into the reptilian brain, the fight or flight, like which is
Mhm.
a natural thing. But being able to identify, this is not me.
Mhm.
This, I am not this scared person. This is a reaction that I'm having, or this is a whatever that I'm having. But it's really interesting because I believe so much of success in business is attributed to mindset. Do you
Mhm.
have the resiliency? Do you have the perseverance? Because when things get hard, I mean, sometimes things can get really hard in business and we don't know how we're going to make it out. And a lot of people just close in. We saw this a lot in COVID. It was like, how did people react? Did people shut down or did people like push really hard? And I think it taught us a lot about ourselves, and there's not a right or wrong. Like it's fine to do whatever is right for you. Um, but I think that the entrepreneur mind is going to be, if you're doing that personal development along with learning the business, which can be reading books, it can be doing therapy, it can be, I mean, there's a million ways that you can continue to understand yourself and understand others and be empathetic and you know look at different perspectives to understand what's going on. That's going to help you in business because that's going to help you lead your team. It's going to help you to look at problems from a lot of different angles and say, there's more than one way to fix this. Or I'm going to push myself to do something that I'm not comfortable with, like calling my clients or going to this networking meeting and by myself, or going up and introducing myself to someone that I don't know. All scary things that a lot of people don't want to do. And yet I see you out there all the time. You're at like every chamber event. You're always taking selfies. You're getting involved in your community. That can't be easy for someone that has struggled with anxiety at some point in their life. And I know there's a lot of people that have felt that feeling for
Oh,
whatever the cause,
absolutely. Like when I first started going to the chamber breakfasts and, and getting up in front of two to 200 plus people to just talk about my business. And, I would get literally sick to my stomach, like I was going to be sick, but I just forced myself to do it anyway, because, like I think I have a team that depends on me. Right. And I think when you also have people that are a paycheck, their paycheck depends on your ability to market the business. And, it was kind of like I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like, and I'm still, nervous about doing things, but it's gotten a lot easier over the years and having a taste of success. When you're first starting out, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And, now it's gotten a lot easier, like in 2 weeks, we're about to host our 6th anniversary party, which we also do in conjunction with the Chamber Business After Hours. And it's a grand event, and we've done it the past few years. But if you asked me, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like this, I would have probably been like, absolutely not, like the anxiety or even through depression at times, and of just overcoming all of the ups and downs of going through, all the changes, like you said. And just mindset. It was like, you just have to do it anyway. Just do it anyway.
So you opened your second location last year. So
yes, December. I mean, we've literally been open 4 months. Yeah.
It was supposed to be May though, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be like a year. Yeah. We had a lot of building issues because this was a whole new building. And we went in with another gym, like our spa's located next to a gym. And it was a lot of adapt and overcome again, right? That's my motto: adapt and overcome, right? I got that from my husband, but anyway, so we finally opened in December, and here we are.
So what is it like running 2 locations? What are the things that have come up for you? It's the same business, it's just 2 different locations, which when I was working at Belisante in Boston, I was director of medical services there, and we had 3 locations. So I was working with the medical side of things at the 3 locations, and every location was almost like kind of like how your kids can have different personalities, and you love them all, but they're very different and different problems. Are you experiencing that in 2 locations, or what has come up, or do you just have like perfect children?
Well, you know what? Somewhat it's funny because I have two boys. Chase, our oldest son, is actually in the Navy now. Our kids are 6 years apart, partially due to military life. It just didn't work out for us to have another child in between those two, to deployments and all of that. But they're totally different. Our kids are totally different, very different personalities. But I have found since at both of our locations of spa, since, as we've talked about in the past, I have some staffing issues, hiring issues, but our employees work both places. So I think that has a congruency of, it's
kind of keeping the same culture.
Keeping the same culture because it's the same employees, right? And I mean, obviously, there's some slight differences just because of 2 locations, but I feel like overall, I've been able to keep the same vibe, the same. I mean, and our clients go to both locations. I mean, as you know, we're in a small area.
Yeah, so, you're in Crestview, so it's on one side of town and on the other side of town, the right. 2 locations.
Right.
Are there differences in the town of, sometimes different areas have different vibes of people?
Well, that's that's kind of how we came about with 2 locations, because I had originally wanted a larger location just because we had kind of outgrown our first location. There was no more growth available there. So I had looked for another location that was larger, but we're in a smaller town and that just wasn't, it just didn't happen for me. Right. So when I saw that they were building the other gym on the north side of Crestview, it just made sense to have two locations because literally, even though it's one city, it's like two different cities because a lot of times people that live on the north side of Crestview, they don't ever go south and they don't want to go south. It's just a little bit more trafficy down there, where it's the city's growing exponentially. And so just having the same, it's the same people, but the people who live on the north side are still more like country like. We're just really it's less congested on the north side of town. So it's been very nice to accommodate our clients that live on the north versus clients that live on the south side of Crestview. So,
okay, that's great.
yeah.
And so, I mean, it's been 4 months, 4 or 5 months. You're going into your 5th month, right? December.
Mm-hmm.
What is this, April? Yeah. So actually going into your 6th month, right?
I think
your 6 months.
It's a blur.
And if you were going to go back, what would you do differently, if anything, in preparing yourself for the second location?
Honestly, like I really, I'm a planner. I like to plan, but I have found that, that's not always works out. I don't really think there's anything I would do differently. Like I go day by day and,
That's a great feeling.
Yeah, it really is because, early on, it's like, stressing over things that you can or can't control is it doesn't really work, just adds a lot of stress for no reason. And, but what I feel like is just, once we get all of our employees in place, and this is a mindset thing. I stopped saying I need massage therapists. Now I'm like my doors are open for people that want to work for me, and then I can provide a great place for them to work. And I feel like that works better for my mindset to feel in the mind of needing, feeling like need all the time because I don't need anything right. So I just have a place for people to work, enjoy their, take care of people and that what they love to do. And as long as I can provide that, then I think that's what makes our business successful.
And I think energetically that's huge because if you're constantly like, I'm not going to be successful or happy, or we're not going to be able to get to this point, whatever you're telling yourself, what story you're telling yourself in your head, until I have 3 massage therapists or 5 massage therapists or whatever the number is that you need. Because even though you're a fast growing town, you're still a small town.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, the fact that it's fast growing is great. But I think Crestview is not the only place in the United States that's struggling for massage therapists right now. It seems like there's just a nationwide shortage of MTs that are working in spas. So
it's a physical job. It's a physical job. And I mean, I kind of joke around about this, but I'm like, everybody wants to be an influencer. They don't really want to have to work very hard. It's like work ethic is a little different, I think, for these younger generations of people that so they can make tons of money on the internet versus actually, in their pajamas versus actually going and
well, we'll see what happens now that TikTok is going to be banned.
Good.
So.
Right, good.
Cool. Well, so what advice would you give to, because I know right now we are in a bit more of a challenging environment. There's people kind of frozen right now. And anytime we have an election year, I feel like everybody just kind of freezes because there's uncertainty, and the human psyche does not like uncertainty of any kind. We can handle it when we know what it's going to be, but in business, that kind of pauses things. So there's spa owners out there or people that want to be spa owners that may be dealing with stress or anxiety. And I know you're going to say, do it scared, do it anyway, but how do what advice do you give them besides that? Because it's like, is it just step by step, little by little, like how do they continue to move forward?
Yeah, that I think it's like it honestly, and I learned this a lot from you, like over the coaching and all the years. It's like it is mindset, and it's like don't hesitate to ask for help. That was a hard thing for me. Even going through coaching is like asking for help. And like, but
I think it's hard for women in general.
right. But I feel like if you have a dream or a desire, or it'll work out. You just have to, and I know this is woo woo, right? Just have faith, or just believe, or just take it one day at a time, one step at a time. Because I think a lot of people get hung up in the future of, or they're scared to start because of the future, like I don't know what to do, but I think just having a plan and just every day, just doing something that sends you closer to what you're wanting to do. And that's another thing that you've talked about, like why do you want to do it? Like where does that come from? And that's a big thing too. It's just like, and I truly believe, like, if you want to do something, then you can do it, and you just
Yeah.
have to find the resources. You have to ask for help. And yeah, I mean, I believe if what you desire is strong enough to do it, then it'll work itself out. You just have to be patient. Be patient.
Yeah, I've said if it's in your heart, if you have that dream, because we all have different dreams, but if
Mhm.
you truly have that dream, you are capable of achieving it. But does
Absolutely.
it mean you're going to have to get up and talk in front of 200 people at the chamber? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Does it mean you're going to have, you're going to have to do hard things, but you are capable of that thing. Otherwise, that dream wouldn't be a part of you.
Right. And and we talk about my great team right now, but I've gone through a lot of employees over the years that did or didn't work out for whatever reasons, and I used to take that very personally, like when someone left the spa, or wanted to do something else. But I really realized, like, we are all on our own journey, and you just have to keep going, doing your best, and you know it'll work itself out.
I love that. That's a great place to wrap things up. I think just step by step, day by day, have
Mhm.
faith that where there's a will, there's a way, and community, um, community in other entrepreneurs, community in your own, looking at your own, you said your husband and your family supporting you, telling you you're doing great. The people around us are so important to help us have the confidence and believe in ourselves and believe what we're capable of, and know that the things that we're feeling are normal. It's one of
Mhm.
the big takeaways that I had from Sedona. I think it was Jessica that stood up and said, being here lets me know that I'm normal because everyone is having these same feelings and these same issues. And I thought I was kind of on this isolated entrepreneurial island. And I realized that this is very normal in the world of entrepreneurship. And so I think that sense of community is just so deeply important.
100%, like you said, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, like being in spa groups, being, in coaching groups, or business groups, like like even if it's not a spa business, but putting yourself in places of people that share the same values or goals or mindset is super important to the growth of personal and business. It's like you can't. But there's some saying about you're the surrounded by the
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the
right,
most time with. Yeah, it's Jim
right,
Rohn. Yeah.
right, and that's true. Like you're never gonna move forward if everybody around you is having a pity party and Debbie Downers. Just being with people that share your same goals and values, I believe, is super important for any success.
And we're obviously like all for the spa coaching groups. That's what we do. But I think it's highly important to also be involved in chamber and other businesses outside of our industry. There's so much that I have learned from those types of groups and taken those strategies and said, how can I apply this to spa? So it helps us think outside the box and come up with different things that can be applied or can work in our industry. So and there's a lot of, entrepreneurial courses that you can apply for. Some of the banks will put on things, and if you just start digging a little bit, there's so much in the communities that will help educate, learn, connect, to help support your business.
Oh, right. Outside of, I think I did your business plan bundle years ago, but outside of that, it was also like the Small Business Development Center. We went to like how to start a business. I mean, we went, and that's free for, it's a free government program, Small Business Development Center. They helped us set up our LLC. They helped us with our tax, all the things. So yeah, like you said, just reaching out to your resources.
There's a lot out there. There's a lot. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Misty, so much. I know your story is going to inspire others. If you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, any of these things, just go step by step. You can do this.